Night Anime Recap. Our story begins in a world where a Cold War has been going on between the two big countries of Westalis and Ostania. Daylight assassinations and spying are common in this world where these two countries continue to try to meddle in the political affair of each other. However, one day, the diplomat of Westalis is killed in an assassination. The higher-ups at Westalis figure that this is the work of the far-right party of the East, which is planning to take over the government there and launch an actual attack on Westalis, a full-out war. They are left with only one option, and no, it's not to start a war before they do, that would be too easy. The officials decide to let their very best agent to deal with extracting information to somehow stop the war. The agent is Twilight. Twilight is one of, if not, the best spies in the entire world. His reputation exceeds himself as the master of disguise. His spying skills are unmatched as well. James Bond doesn't even compare when it comes to this legend. Twilight can switch to 100 faces, has survived countless wars, and stopped many as well, and the most important of all his skill is that he puts his mission before anything else. Heck, it doesn't even take him a second to break up with his girlfriend, who was thinking about marriage. Recently, Twilight finished acquiring some confidential pictures of the minister from his blackmailers. He had been living as Robert during this time, but as soon as his mission is finished, he burns all the papers linking him to that name, cuts off all his ties, and heads out to the next mission. His life as a spy always keeps him busy, and he knows that he will never have a real name or a real family, but that's okay with him. He gets his next mission as he heads to the city of Berlin. The mission is simple. The target is a member of the National Equality Party named Donovan Desmond. This man had been planning something to disrupt the peace between the two countries, and Twilight needed to spy on him. However, there was a catch, or perhaps an easy way to perform his work. He needed to get married, have a child, and make sure that the child gets into the same school as Desmond's son so that using the child he could keep track of Desmond's activities. All of this needed to be done in 7 days. No matter the skills Twilight may have, having a child in 7 days is definitely not an easy task. However, the higher-ups are confident in Twilight's skills, and besides, the fate of the entire country depends on the success of the mission. Twilight is a bit anxious at first, but collects himself and begins his impossible mission. Once he reaches the city of Berlin in Ostania, Twilight takes the name of Lloyd Forger, a psychiatrist, and gets himself a house for his soon-to-be family. A family he is yet to acquire. After finishing with the paperwork for his house, Loud heads straight to the orphanage to get himself a child. He visits an underground orphanage that has little to no track record with the government. The children there are in awful condition, and Lloyd can't help but notice the caretaker's drunk nature. The man takes Lloyd to the so-called smartest kid in the orphanage, Anya. For the mission, Lloyd wants a child who is smart and at least 6 years old. He doesn't really believe that Anya fits into any of those categories, but for some reason, Anya tries her best to impress Lloyd. She even solves a crossword right before his eyes as he solves it in his mind. This convinces Lloyd, who instantly adopts Anya. Little did Lloyd know, Anya was a telepath, a test subject of an experiment. Anya could read the minds of all the people around her. Anya had realized that Lloyd was a spy and was more than ecstatic to join him in the mission. Lloyd takes his daughter back to his home, and later she tags along with him as they head to get some groceries. During all of this, Lloyd starts to realize that spying is much easier when it comes to parenting. He spends the whole night trying to figure out how best to tackle this whole ordeal. Anya is not exactly the calm type either. She is fully immersed in the spying and espionage that her father had spent so many years hiding from people. She tries to follow him around every time he tries to head out, enjoying the thrill of her father finding her location every single time. Lloyd somehow manages to lock her up and heads to the one contact that he has from Westalis that also lives in Ostania, Frankie Franklin. Franklin sets him up with information regarding Anya's past. Just in the past year, she had been adopted and then returned back at least 4 times. Back at home, Anya manages to stumble upon Lloyd's contact briefcase and sends a random signal that is intercepted by the same people from whom Lloyd had taken the minister's pictures. Their leader, Edgar, immediately recognizes that this is a signal from the east and sends his men to capture or kill him. They take Anya captive just in case. Lloyd gets home and manages to subdue the two men who were there quite easily. He then rushes to the location where Anya is held captive. Lloyd disguises himself up as one of the goons and skillfully swipes away Anya while the other goons are distracted. He leaves her outside and then goes back in. Lloyd then points a gun at Edgar's head and threatens him that if he ever came after him again, he would not only kill him, but his wife and his little daughter. He then walks outside in his real form like a badass. The father and daughter then decide to switch houses just before the entrance exam to the prestigious Eden College. Both of them have come a bit closer to each other after the last incident. The entrance exams finally begin, and Anya obviously has no idea what she can do to pass. She tries to read the minds of others around her, but the rest are as clueless as her. With no other choice, she guesses all the answers. However, she lucks out. Anya passes the entrance exam to Eden School. Elsewhere in the same city, a young 27-year-old female, Ye is troubled by her lack of companionship. It isn't that she wants to get married, just recently the government has started to prosecute a lot of single females, believing them to be spies. Ye just doesn't want to leave her day job in the city council because someone thinks that she is a spy. That day, her friends call her to a house party and Ye agrees. She even lies to her brother, who lives in a faraway location and is her only living family member, that she will be going to a party today with her boyfriend when he inquires if she had settled down or not. The idea that she had to find a boyfriend before the party troubles her throughout the day. However, that is not the only secret she has kept from her brother. While Ye might not be a spy, she is however an infamous assassin named the Thorn Princess. She is a contract killer who works for various secret organizations to murder people for the greater good of the country. This is why she needed to maintain her reputation as a normal worker in the city council as well. Back at his home, Lloyd and Frankie scour through several hundred reports to select the perfect wife for Lloyd. Lloyd does have the option to hire a spy from his country, but decides it's better to use someone who doesn't know about his mission. After being unable to select someone, he takes Anya to the local tailor's shop. There the two stumble upon a troubled Ye who had come there to get her dress for the party. Ye and Lloyd meet face to face and Lloyd instantly recognizes her from one of the files. For any normal person, his look would have meant nothing, but Ye realizes that he was looking at her and asks him why he had been staring at her. The sharp spy quickly makes up an excuse that he was looking at how beautiful she was. They both blush for a while and Ye believes that maybe she can get Lloyd to be his fake boyfriend for a while, with Lloyd thinking something similar. However, when Ye sees that Lloyd is with his daughter, she immediately regrets her thought. She didn't want to kill anyone's relationship for her own selfish needs. Anya gives one look at Ye and realizes that she was an assassin. An assassin mother and a spy father? She would not want anything more than that to happen. She quickly reveals that she doesn't have a mother with no context whatsoever, and Ye gathers up the courage to ask Lloyd out. She does tell him that he only needs to pretend to be her boyfriend, and in exchange, Lloyd asks her to be Anya's mother for the interview coming up at Eden College. They both agree and Ye asks Lloyd to meet her the next day for the party. The next day, however, some spy business comes up and Lloyd cannot make it in time for the party. Ye is disappointed but doesn't blame Lloyd. She goes to the party alone and is immediately taunted by her jealous so-called friends. However, Lloyd arrives just in time, bleeding and tired. He makes up an excuse that his patient had gone ballistic on him during therapy. He promptly declares himself as the husband of Ye and takes her out of the demeaning party. Outside, the two are faced with the goons Lloyd had been dealing with earlier, but the two deal with them easily. Lloyd is surprised at Ye's skills, but doesn't so much as suspect her of anything. Some spy he is. The next day, who is now a part of the Forger family, moves in with Lloyd. And so the most chaotic family filled with lies and deceit is then formed. Father a spy, mother an assassin, and daughter a telepath. Since their marriage is only for show to others, Anya and Lloyd have separate rooms in the house. Lloyd had also made Frankie prepare a fake marriage certificate that had a date of 1 year earlier so that they would be clear of any suspicion. The family for the mission was finally complete. After Anya shows you around the house, Lloyd sits them both down for a test mock interview preparation. Very soon Eden College would be calling all the parents and students for an interview to finalize the admission process, and he wants them to be prepared for it. However, the more he questions them, the more he realizes that his new family is hopeless. Frustrated, Lloyd decides to take the family outside for some fresh air. They visit the local restaurant and even the tailor for some new clothes. Lloyd is troubled by the fact that he cannot get his family to become what he wants them to. He even begins questioning his judgment but realizes that it's best to take things as they come. He couldn't doubt his abilities now. On their way back, Lloyd and Anya even manage to subdue a thief. Even though they want to keep a low profile, the two can't stop themselves from helping the people around them. Over the next few days, the family prepares rigorously for the upcoming interview, and the day finally arrives. Lloyd, and Anya reach the school in time for the interview. Eden College is a prestigious school where only the best or the wealthiest of students study, which includes the children of Lloyd's target Donovan Desmond. The school is known for its harsh judgment of parents and students when it comes to the selection process, and it was imperative that the Forger family performed its level best. Immediately upon entering the school, Lloyd realizes that they were being watched. The judgment had begun even before the interview. As several families enter through the front gate, a group of teachers led by Henry Henderson are judging the families and quietly eliminating any family that performs poorly, looks extra nervous, or is suspicious. Henry has one main point: he considers elegance. He is a fanatic for it. For Henry, if a family has elegance, they deserve to be in Eden; if not, they deserve to be dead. As they walk in, Lloyd and his family pay their respect to the creator of Eden School. Henderson notices their elegance and immediately calls for his fellow teachers to pull up Anya's file. He looks at the awful handwriting and the test papers she had given, in which she had barely passed. Henry is disappointed at his earlier judgment and quickly makes up an arrangement to make sure the family's folly is discovered. First, a child stuck in the gutter asks for Lloyd's help and ruins all of his clothes, but the family has come prepared with a spare pair of clothes. What elegance is all that Henry can think of, but he isn't convinced yet. He then releases all the animals and sends them directly their way, which Lloyd and Anya again deal with quite quickly. Their clothes are once again dirty, but there is nothing to fear. The Forgers have not one but 2 pairs of extra clothing. At this point, Henry is weirdly aroused somehow by the amount of elegance he sees in the family. The first part of the test was over, and Lloyd can't be more relieved. He had saved entire nations, thousands of people, and stopped nukes, and yet he believes that the last few minutes were the most stressful moments of his life. However, everything was going on as planned. At this rate, Anya would be enrolled in the school without a doubt. The actual interview then starts, but it doesn't turn out to be as Lloyd has expected. He knew that Swan, one of the interviewers, was going to cause some trouble with the questions, but he hadn't expected him to lose control over it. When Swan starts berating Anya and his new wife, for some reason, Lloyd cannot control it. Lloyd, aka Twilight, who has always kept his job before anything else, suddenly felt a sense of responsibility towards them. He loses his cool and slams the desk before them so hard that it breaks. He excuses himself and leaves along with his family. When they reach home, though, the realization hits. Lloyd's whole plan was now in jeopardy. The whole family is distraught. They all know that there is little hope that Anya will get into the school now, and yet they lie to themselves that perhaps everything will be all right. No one can believe what had just happened, especially Lloyd, who had thought that he could have never been the cause of his own demise. Regardless, the family tries to convince each other that Anya will get admission into Eden School. Soon the day of the result arrives, and the whole family heads to the school to check the results. Their path is filled with various bad lucks. First, a full black cat crosses the road before them, and then Anya steps on poop. The family still tries to convince themselves that these things don't mean anything until they reach the school. Anya had failed. Despite them not having any doubt that this could happen, the family still feels down for their months of effort gone to waste. Just as they plan to leave, Henry Henderson approaches them from the shadows and tells Lloyd that although his misconduct had made certain that Anya didn't get admission into the school directly, she had still managed to get into the waiting list. Meaning if any student on the main list wished to leave, she would be admitted to the school in her stead. Although this was some good news, it was still unlikely as Eden was a very prestigious school and no one would be foolish enough to leave once admitted. He knows this as well and considers assassinating the student and his family so that Anya could get into the school. Henderson tells them that they will be getting a call later that day if Anya gets the place in the school and leaves. Back at home, Anya and her parents patiently wait for a call as cute little Anya carries out a dance to summon all her good luck. Just then, they receive a call and Lloyd quickly rushes to the phone. He picks it up. And Anya got the spot. Even before the family has the news announced, Frankie enters the house. Introducing himself as Lloyd's friend, he quickly makes himself at home. He brings along with him some booze. The whole family celebrates the occasion. However, Frankie, drunk and stupid, forces Lloyd to make Anya feel extra happy for passing the test and interview. Anya loves the show Spy Wars, and so Lloyd manages to call his crew back at home and set up a game at the original castle where the show was shot. You know, Lloyd is starting to forget that he is a spy and doing such extravagant things now. That whole night, Lloyd acts like the main character of the show and performs just like his daughter wishes. The next day arrives and the family then goes to get sew Anya's school uniform. The local tailor there gets all of the measurements and asks which school she is in. When she hears that Anya is in Eden School, she immediately starts relating how the school has very mischievous students and the amount of bullying in the school is very high. This scares little Anya, who didn't even want to join the school in the first place, but Lloyd assures her that nothing of that sort will happen. Later that day, Lloyd leaves home asking them to get the dress from the tailor that evening as he might be a bit late to get back home. After bidding farewell to his family, Lloyd heads straight to the correspondent of his country, Handler, to know what are the next steps he must take to get close to Desmond. To begin with, Handler is super pissed at him for renting an entire castle with the government's money, but she can't say much more when Lloyd hands her another bill. Private schools are expensive. Handler then tells him about the Eden School and how he can get access to the special meetings that are carried out in that school. In Eden School, there are about 2,500 students. The students who are able to shine bright and lead every other student in their studies and every other aspect are called the Imperial Students. In order to get to Desmond and his meeting, Lloyd would need to either get Anya to become his son's great friend or become the best student and get the Imperial status.